Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. Maybe somebody is watching us online from the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, the center of resisting the free Crimea. We are going to start the press conference dedicated to the following topic. 3 days ago, we marked the Children's Day, and today our topic is children's rights violation in the occupied Crimea. In our today's press conference take part Aksana Filipishyna, head of the Department for Children's Rights, Non-discrimination and Gender Equality, the Office of Ukrainian Parliament Ombudsman for Human Rights, also Sergiy Ustymenko, Deputy Minister of Social Policy of Ukraine on European Integration, and Mr. Andrey Dovzhenko, Director General of the State Enterprise of Ukraine, International Children's Center, Artek. On the screens you can see the infographics prepared by the Analytical Center for Crimea, which is related to the violation of children's rights in the occupied Crimea. Our today's speakers will offer to you the expert opinion regarding what's going on. In particular, one of the international brand of Ukraine, International Children's Camp or Center Artek, what's going on as regards the observance of the children's rights in the occupied territory of Crimea in the city of Sevastopol, where at the moment before occupation we had 4,000 plus orphans and those who were deprived of parents' care. In addition to that, in the Crimea, they registered 1,054 orphans and those who were actually without parents. All in all, territory of before the occupation of the Crimea, there were 25 different institutions, 3,000 plus children were educated, orphans and parentless children. And there was a separate administration in the city of Sevastopol, 772 orphans and children without parents lived there in the city of Sevastopol. They had 9 education establishments was taking care of 1,022 children of this kind. What happened after the annexation, when the Ukrainian public authorities actually lost the possibility to fulfill their commitments regarding the observance of the children's rights and providing their ensuring them and guaranteeing them the social rights, etc. Unfortunately, the Autonomous Republic of Crimea actually subjected to a lot of transformations, in particular with the children's establishment. You know that in the Russian Federation they have different legislation regarding the adoption of children by foreign citizens. You know that we have the prohibition to this end on those lines. Also, there is a special legislation in Russian Federation for the orphanages or the family houses, which are absolutely different according to their basic provisions. And today we are talking about our orphans and those children which were put into such establishments, unfortunately cannot exercise any control of this. Some of the blatant facts regarding the violation of children's rights, we are talking about this notorious operation, the train from occupied Crimea, as a result of which 12 children, citizens of Ukraine, were adopted, so to say, because it was a legal adoption, or were taken, or they were given the guardians in Russia. Now, speaking about our analysis information, actually they sent letters in March, April this year to the Minister of Science, Youth and Sports, to the address to the self-proclaimed Republic of Crimea on the issues of the rights of the children who were without parents. Now here you can see on the screen that actually this operation the Hope train from Crimea. You can see that 12 of our children were illegally taken to Russia. This situation actually is logically reflected on the territory of Donbass, where warfare is waged. Unfortunately, the situation there is still worse. And again, we had the information about even more hideous cases there when the children from the orphanages were illegally taken to the territory of the Russian Federation. Many of those were never returned back. And unfortunately, the destiny of those children is unknown, whether they were adopted or they are put to some kind of children orphanages on the territory of the Russian Federation. We just don't know about that. I would like to specifically emphasize that the topic of our one of our topics is the situation in the International Children's Center in Artek. You know, this is the brand well known not only on the territory of Ukraine but beyond its boundaries. I can name myself the Artek child because I visited Artek back in 1989, still in the Soviet times, in the Kiparis, which was bordering on the Gruzov. This was our our squad. And actually, a lot of children from the Soviet elite were given a chance to spend the summer time there, but this discipline was very strict, and you know, it was very strict scheduled, with including physical gymnastics about 7 in the morning. I believe that our reminiscences of this kind unite tens of thousands of people, citizens of today's Ukraine and other former Soviet republics, and even some foreign countries. I believe that the new information will be delivered to you by the Director General of the Artek, who will tell you information about the majority of the employees of the Artek who actually moved to Ukraine from the occupied territories. Thank you very much. I would like to tell you about the Artek movement. Now, in 2014, when we had the grievous events in the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, it was clear in those days that we are going to temporarily lose the Crimea. Part of our pedagogues and the educators, including myself, we didn't wish to continue our work under the banner of the occupationists, so we moved to the so to say, the land part of Ukraine. We had a very good, experienced team of pedagogues and teachers, and we were approached by one of the groups with a proposal to create in Bukovina or in the Carpathian area to create or to set up the Artek, Carpathian Artek. So we addressed the respective ministry because that was, and actually we addressed the Committee for Management of the different public affairs with the request to get permission to do that. Since we did not have the heads of that committee were changing every month, so created the commercial structure Artek Carpathians. But we were allowed to use the Artek brand in our title Artek Carpathians. When I being the director of the Artek Carpathians in Bukovina, we actually had the thematic shifts, and over the last year we received about 2,000 children. This year we stopped our activities in the Bukovel resort area and again addressed the State Committee for the Administration and to renew the operation of this children's center Artek. This time the Presidential Administration, the above-mentioned committee, actually our request was met with understanding. I was nominated or appointed as Director General of that center in order to renew temporarily on this part of Ukraine, unoccupied part of Ukraine, temporarily to renew this kind of Artek. All the property of the Artek remains in the occupied territory, and we do not have any chance to control, to exercise control over this property. And today there is kind of large-scale restructuring. Some of the buildings demolished, taken down, and some other are being built. And we do not have any direct approach to the Artek property today. We would like to restore or renew on one of these public bases the work of the International Children's Center, Artek. What do we need to do that? First of all, we have to have the faculty or the pedagogues and the teachers, because they are the carriers and bearers of the methodology. This is most valuable thing, because Artek, first of all, doesn't mean the buildings or warm sea or any mountain area, whatever, which is very good, but the most important is the teachers and pedagogues working in Artek. And the thesis, which I just voiced a few minutes ago, is confirmed by the implementation of the commercial project of Artek Carpathians last year. Today, this entity is going to renew its work. We face some difficulties because, as I mentioned before, when the majority of our assets remain of the occupied territory, do not have any approach to that and access to that, and we have to start from the scratch now. And over this time of the period of occupation of Crimea in Ukraine, I'll put this way, we have a very let's say, a sad situation with the Artek brand. I'll tell you why. In Berezovets, based on the Hotel Geneva, we had the camp Precarpathians, which doesn't have any, which has nothing to do with their Artek brand. We even called them and we asked them why they actually had its name for the camp. Actually, they just decided to call their center Artek Precarpathia. In this kind, since Artek stopped these activities in the Bukovel.
Since the camp, children's camp, Bukovel has Artek Precarpathia has ceased its work. Then Artek Bukovel was assigned, his name was assigned to Children's Camp Bukovel. And for 7 years it had been operating, and last year it has received a new name, Artek Bukovel. This is absolutely new team, new pedagogical team, new teachers, new trainers, and now they are resuming the traditions of Bukovel, of Artek brand in mainland Ukraine. We have the ownership for brand name Artek, for Artek logo, for Artek trademark, and Artek intellectual property, and we have submitted Artek Precarpathia, Artek Zakarpattia, Artek Bukovel, Artek Bukovina, and something else. These trademarks were submitted for registration, for official registration as a logo and copyright by famous Western Ukrainian company. Whether you will submit claims to international courts that Russia will use Artek brand name. One of the purposes of resuming the work of the state enterprise Artek is to submit claims. Now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Aksana Filipishyna, who works in the Ombudsman office. We understand that children, this is a specific category of Ukrainian citizens. Of course, they have Ukrainian passports, but they have also special requirements. I have heard that in Russian Federation, they have separate legislation about the rights of Ukrainian citizens, and my question is, to what extent the rights of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian children could be enjoyed in Russia? I recollect one happy example when children's shelter was evacuated to Russia, and thus children were rescued. Let me correct you. I'm representative of the Ombudsman and Human Rights in Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, and compliance with the rights of children and non-discrimination rules are main scopes of my responsibility. And today I would like to describe the major issues with the rights of children, the rights of a child in Crimea. And the situation with monitoring of children's rights in Ukraine is rather difficult. Several months ago, the Ombudsman's team, which had been working in the Crimean territory for more than 20 years, has ceased its work because of the occupation, actually, of its premises. In May last year, nevertheless, we continued communication with the representatives of Ukrainian authorities working in Crimea, and from June last year they stopped provision of this information because of intimidation, and they mentioned this in phone calls. Of course, children have the right for care, the right for life, the right for parental care, the right for citizenship, and some other everybody probably remember that there was a child, a first victim who suffered from occupation in Crimea. This was Marko Ivanenko, a 16-year-old guy from Rivne, who was terribly beaten, and as of today, the investigation is pending, and all our requests and questions about it ends with nothing. The reason why this boy was terribly beaten was that he rejected to speak Russian when Russian law enforcement officers requested him to speak Russian. He continued to speak Ukrainian and was terribly beaten. Also, we should state that we observe changes in the situation in children's rights to the worse. The children are deprived from Ukrainian citizenship, from the right to study their native languages like Ukrainian and some others, and also quite often they are deprived from parental care. And I would recollect one fact that before occupation in Sebastopol there were 7 schools which provided tuition in Ukrainian, and this year this year, as of January 1st, 2015, there are only 2 schools in Crimea providing tuition in Ukrainian. This is one school in Bakhchisarai and one school in Simferopol. And number of children who get training in Ukrainian, the numbers has dropped from 14,000 in early 2014 to several hundreds, and even number of children who use who speak Ukrainian language. Now there are 40,000 children, and now the occupants suggest that sharp decrease from 216,000 to 40,000 of those who wish to study Ukrainian language is because children and their parents do not wish to study English, study Ukrainian. As for citizenship, currently in the Russian Federation, children get passports at the age of 14, while in Ukraine they should get passports at the age of 16. Also, children without parental care in care institutions, they had no right to express their opinion, and they have received new certificates of birth from Russian Federation, and based on that certificates of birth they will get new passports later of the Russian citizens. Some children, there were 3 children who rejected to get Russian passports. These were children from children's care institution. They rejected to get Russian passports. 3 teenagers between 15 and 16. Those children were simply given some certificates from the law enforcement agency. They were put into a train and sent to Kiev, and that's it. This year, when the situation with ATR, Crimean Tatar TV channel happened, was closed, and one 18-year-old guy and 2 17-year-old girls tried to shoot an amateur video about closure of this channel. They were immediately detained, arrested, and this guy was awarded the court verdict to pay 200,000 Russian rubles, while minor girls, underage girls, were obliged to pay 10,000 rubles each of them. Actually, the Russian Federation violates children's rights, while local Crimean authorities allow this silently and intimidates those who express rhetoric against the mainstream ideology of Russian Federation. There is a possibility to cross the border and to come to Ukraine to get Ukrainian citizenship. But today there is a big problem that there is a big problem in Ukraine's territory. Those documents which are issued by the occupant authorities are not recognized. Last year, the Parliament of Ukraine had to pass a resolution that Ukrainian authorities should take into account the certificates issued by occupants, and based on those certificates issue Ukrainian passports.
The question was, you give some examples where our children were illegally taken from the territory of Crimea, but what happened when actually we tried to carry out from the Crimea children just to save them from occupation? In your opening remarks, actually, you answered this question because I saw one of the slides on the screen regarding the foster families. All in all, there are 5 families. We know that in the foster families, they have to take care of up to 5 children, in the orphanages up to 10, or children's family houses up to 10. But this is not a big number of children, because about 4,000, over 4,000 children in the Crimea. Actually, we are in the kind of family care houses, like in family houses or the foster families, and we know some of the cases were illegally, honestly speaking, illegally. We took here to this part of Ukraine. I'm talking about a girl who was born in Kiev, but she was adopted by a foster family, and that was a goodwill of her foster mother, because she took that child to the neutral territory, maybe in 1 year. Actually, I can maybe tell you the city. She took it to Odessa, and from Odessa we took this girl to Kiev. Maybe Sergiy have some figures, but those figures for sure you can see in the Minister of the Social Policy. But regarding those children who actually were born in this land part of Ukraine, so to say, non peninsula, and who were actually and their guardians were in the Crimea, and the situation with those children is worse if they were forced to take the citizenship of Russian Federation. And the situation was returning or demanding those children to return here is really problematic today. Thank you, Aksana. And now we are going to turn the mic to Sergiy Ustymenko, Deputy Minister of the Social Policy Minister of Ukraine. Well, I'd like to ask the following question. Yesterday I attended the monitoring mission in Ukraine, they were talking about the situation regarding the violation of the rights of children on the occupied territories, and they complained that the Russian Federation doesn't allow them to have an access to this territory, just to monitor the situation on the spot, so to say. And the question is, maybe some of the international organizations, maybe UNICEF or OSCE, the Russians allowed to to visit those territories. And the second question regards the refugees. And according to official statistics, the number over 20,000, and official statistics say that, and our statistics say that the number is over 50,000 people. And now we are talking about the movement of the 4,500 Crimean students back to this part of Ukraine. Is this true information, and how many children actually came from Crimea to this part of Ukraine and now study in Ukrainian schools? I'm sorry, the open figure regarding the forced displaced children is 6,500. Actually, this statistics is taken care of by the Ministry of Education and Science without any kind of age brackets. Yeah, first, I'll answer a question. First of all, I'd like to say that rather we use the let's say the partisan methods. If we're talking about Minister of Social Policy, because it has been mentioned that we cannot expect from the Russian Federation or from the separatists. You were talking about the eastern parts of Ukraine. We do not receive any information. They try to avoid this, despite the fact, that we sent the letter to the Ministry of Education and Science of the Russian Federation asking how many Ukrainian children are now residing on the territory of the Russian Federation. Last week I sent a letter to Mr. Astakov, who is the authorized person of the Russian Federation on the children's rights, actually, and the colleague, or we call Kuliba. So I mentioned in the letter what you mentioned, lack of information regarding those children, their number, and the legal basis or framework, whatever information we have to receive from the Russian Federation. Actually, I really didn't hope too much about getting the answer, because everything speaks of the fact that everything is beyond the legal field, and whatever they do on the annexed territory in the Crimea or uncontrolled by Ukraine territories in the east of Ukraine, unfortunately, they continued this kind of those violations of children's rights there. And actually, thank you very much, Aksana, that you provide this information on the part of the Minister of Social Policy. I would like to mention that, in fact, we have to fight against legal adoption of children by foreign citizens. This train of hope, which you mentioned, we do not have any information where those Ukrainian children, where they are now. There are some cases which we can actually take care of and try to find some legal framework. You know that in Khanty-Mansiysk, 21 children were taken to Khanty-Mansiysk area of the Russian Federation, but that was done with the consent of their parents. And actually, there was some kind of agreement that those children can be taken there. Regarding the ATO zone of the Crimea, we have such a situation that we get some kind of information through the private contacts with those workers of the social network, which actually with those people who have had the good contacts since the normal times, so to say. But the people are so much intimidated and scared that after our calls, telephone calls, some people were coming to them and they actually faced the ultimatum. You have to cease to contact to have any contacts with Ukraine, or you will be deprived of certain, let's put it this way, civil rights and privileges. That's why, in my opinion, the situation is very complex complicated. Unfortunately, we do not have any representatives of the Ministry of Justice or MFA, but just for sake of justice, I have to say that we consult with them and we hold some joint actions. And we try to find some mechanisms through the diplomatic establishments abroad and through the addresses of the official public authorities of our country. Maybe we can find some way how to influence or to affect the situation. Answering that part of your question regarding the monitoring issues, I have to tell you the following. We were part of our governmental delegation in New York, and we raised the issue regarding the establishment of some kind of systematic or creating some systematic opportunities to monitor the violation of the rights on the occupied territory in the Crimea or the temporary uncontrolled territories in the east of Ukraine. Regarding the sending some kind of specialized mission. Let's say OSCE and the Red Cross have their field missions and some other. Not all the international organizations which have the mandate which would allow them to share the information which they obtain while staying in the occupied and temporary occupied territories. But if, unfortunately, today from this part of Ukraine, do not allow us to go there, to visit those places. So we addressed both the management of the UN and the OSCE managers. We are involved in negotiations with the Council of Europe in order to ensure or to provide this monitoring by the using some of those missions which are already stationed there. The situation over there is rather complicated. I'm not only talking about the violation of the human rights, and we lack this information also the gender violations and many other aspects of this process. But as I mentioned before, we are in the process of negotiations. They promised us that the international experts will consolidate their experts, they will take care of the assessment mission to evaluate the needs and requirements of the year. And this is the first stage, and together with the MFA, with the assistance given or rendered by the Ministry of Justice or Ombudsman Office, we are gradually approaching the situation when, together with our international partners, we can provide or carry out monitoring of the human rights in those territories. Just one phrase, which is going to be very eloquent regarding the monitoring mission. Speaking about the children's rights, we know the UN structure, the Office of UNICEF, they have their offices almost all over the world, including Ukraine. But what kind of rights monitoring of the children's rights when the Russian Federation, generally speaking, in 2012, actually stopped the relations and actually ousted from the Russian Federation the UNICEF office because they said that they did not have any problems in territory of Russian Federation related to violation of the children's rights, and that Russia is rather big and powerful country which is capable of monitoring the situation themselves. So this is kind of blatant case, and we can't have any kind of permission regarding the possibility of monitoring the children's rights. Thank you, Aksana. Okay, esteemed colleagues, now we have the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please introduce yourselves. And I have a question. I myself have a question. Honestly speaking, I would like to hear from Andrey to hear the information. If you're talking about the percentage or absolute figure, what number of the employees or tech employees came to this part of Ukraine after annexation of the Crimea, and how many people remain there? Thank you. In Artek, we had the permanent staff and the seasonal workers. Since Artek is a big structure, 208 hectares of land, they have their car fleet and etc., etc. we can break it in the collective, the International Children's Center collective before occupation into pedagogical, the faculty, also pedagogical educators and others. From those who left the Crimea, we are talking mostly the pedagogues and teachers, mostly the youth, about 50 persons. Also, we are joined by those who used to be the seasonal employees who used to come to the Artek center every year from different parts of Ukraine and occupy different positions. There is a part of Ukraine of our staff which remained on the territory of Crimea, and they continue to work in the Artek center under banner of the Russian Federation, but they are the pro-Ukrainian citizens and they are patriots, remain the patriots of Ukraine. We have to understand the big number of people who reside there. They not only work there, they live there. So when they were young, they came to Artek, they acquired families, and they have their houses and homes there. And actually, what they have only some property in Crimea and nowhere else. So of course, the decision is simple. They can leave whatever they have there and start from the scratch. For the youth, they can do that. For the older generation, this is a big problem. I would like to emphasize that those who stay, there is an opinion that everybody who live now or reside in Crimea, they're all pro-Russian and they are loyal to the Russian Federation. In fact, this is not true. I can give you a percentage show the number of the people who different kind of sentiments, but there are people like that. I mean, pro-Ukrainian people, patriots of Ukraine also, and they have a very difficult situation. They are intimidated. They are scared by the local police and the secret services. There is a network. There are people who actually voice their or manifest their patriotic sentiments in the social networks. Owing to those people, we know what's going on there because we receive very often the insider information about what's going on, what the situation there. Thank you, and I have the question to Aksana. We're in a special situation. I have my Kyiv friends. They're Kyivites themselves, and until now they have their business in Crimea. They cannot sell it. And they face an awful situation. The wife of my friend, when the Crimea was occupied, she was pregnant and she delivered a child after the annexation. And once again, emphasize their Kyivites, they were citizens of Ukraine. They were not allowed to leave the Crimea because the child was born in the Crimea. They absolutely didn't want to be issued the certificate of birth of their child because they would claim that the child is a citizen of Russian Federation. They didn't want this. Only half a year they managed to take their child to Ukraine with a certificate of birth, as their child was claimed as citizen of the Russian Federation forcibly. And I know some of the similar situations for different people in the Crimea or different ethnic belonging or origin. Okay, without any, they ask me, in what way our citizens should preserve the Ukrainian citizenship and who were given another citizenship of Russian Federation and they want their children to acquire the Ukrainian nationality or citizenship. How can we do that to maybe facilitate this situation? Thank you very much for your coming back to this issue because I touched upon this issue in my presentation. Way out of this situation must be adoption at least of the governmental decision on recognition, if not the papers, but the information contained in those papers, documents. There is a way out because according to our legislation, the procedure recognition of the fact, which is of legal significance, and the procedure how to come back to the documenting those children, at least as the citizens of Ukraine, we have to confirm the births. Okay, in simpler words, because nobody understands you. Actually, this question should not be addressed to myself, but the Minister of Justice. You're talking about the bodies or agencies. This is within the jurisdiction competence of the Ministry of Justice, and actually whatever is pertaining to the to the certificate of birth, or death, or whatever else is the competence of Ministry of Justice. If you're talking about the observance of the children's rights, we have to have the certificate of birth issued by the occupationist authorities, then come to Ukraine and to turn the case to the court at your place of residence. Actual knowledge of the application in compliance with the civil code, for recognition of the fact that the child was born in territory of Ukraine, who is the citizen of Ukraine, was given birth by the citizens of Ukraine, who did not reject their citizenship as Ukrainian citizens. And by the ruling of the court, the third person in this kind of application procedure will be the, let's say, the register, the office of the registration of these martial and status or certificates of birth. This is absolutely legal way which is provided by the valid legislation today. But I mentioned that we, in my opinion, we have to simplify this procedure, so to avoid the court procedure. Just based on the application, we have to take care of the list of documents to be provided by such persons.
I would like to use this opportunity to appeal to a broad audience, and I would like to mention that those orphan children who are deprived from parental care, please don't be afraid when you are sent to Kiev. We have a special resolution that social services immediately take care about these children. They issue necessary documents and start investigation where the parents of these children are trying to bring children back to their parents. So please do not be afraid to go back to Ukraine because of chaos or some uncertainty. The situation is quite opposite. This terrible situation and difficulties have taught us, and we learned many lessons, and now we have rather well working system when we adapt children who arrive from occupied territories. These services are very well organized. The level of care at the state level is very high, so don't be afraid. Many Crimean citizens who arrived to Ukraine to get Ukrainian passports, they have faced a situation when the state service were responsible for issuance of passports upon their own discretion, started to request the birth of certificates, certificates of birth, and this is illegal because many of those people who requested for Ukrainian passports, they had been living in Ukrainian territory, in some cases, dozens of years. One of my friends, she has been living in Kiev for almost 10 years. She was requested to submit her certificate of birth. Fortunately, her parents were able to provide her with this certificate of birth, but still, how this could be resolved? Again, I can assure you that We have sent a special request to the Ministry of Justice that this very issue should be simplified, and people should be provided with with a simplified procedure to reassure their citizenship. As for the children, we have established a unified database of children without parental care, and we have in that database information about certificate of birth, about place of birth, about parents of the children, about actual location of those children, etc. So as for the children without parental care, issuance of all sorts of documents is much easier than for those children who are who have this parental care, but parents stay somewhere not with their children. Ms. Aksana is right. We have a unified database about all children without parental care. When children arrive to Ukrainian territory without their personal files, we are able to restore the personal files of children in line with database. When the paper originals like certificate of birth, etc., are lost in all the adventures of the last time, then we are able to issue new certificate of birth. Thank you very much. We have time for one question. The problem of Crimea is multifaceted, but speaking about children, I would like to ask whether there were children's penitentiary institutions in Crimea, and whether there were any psychiatric clinics. No, there were no children's penitentiary institutions in Crimea and no such institutions in ATO area. We are very grateful to participants of these discussions for the time they sacrificed to discuss the violation of children's rights in Crimea and Sevastopol. I believe that this event will draw attention of international journalists and will draw attention of politicians. Our next press conference will be